Today, there are a lot of important updates from direction Donetsk Oblast. Russian troops advanced through Rivnopil, Novosilka and Vilne Pole. Ukrainian drones destroyed them before they could entrench. Here, Russian forces launched one of their largest attacks near the town. What followed was a brutal engagement that turned their ambitious assault into a devastating spectacle of failure. The goal of the Russian forces is to expand the area under their control along the elevated positions northwest of Velika Novosilka to support their broader offensive toward the border of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. To achieve this, they launched synergistic attacks from four directions targeting Rivnopil and Vilne Pole, and a two-pronged attack on Novosilka. These assaults were launched simultaneously and with effective coordination among Russian units to apply heavy pressure on the Ukrainian defensive line and expose its weakest points. A look at the topographic map reveals the main advantage for the Russian forces. They are mostly attacking along hill ridges at a higher elevation than the frontline Ukrainian positions. This elevation shields them from direct fire, as they are often outside the Ukrainian field of view. However, a key disadvantage lies in the terrain. The Vorona River and a nearby lake soften the ground, reducing the mobility and speed of motorcycle assault units and limiting coordination between different attacking groups. Additionally, all three villages, Rivnopil, Novosilka and Vilne Pole, were previously devastated by intense fighting. The destruction of infrastructure has made concealment difficult and prolonged Russian troop exposure in open areas. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces hold the high ground in front of Novosilka, the highest point of the ridge. This gives them a commanding view of Russian flanks at Novosilka and enables effective use of ATGMs, machine guns, artillery, and drone strikes. The hill ridge at Novosilka is therefore tactically crucial in defending both Novosilka and Novosilka. At Rivnopil, Ukrainian forces maintain positions to the north of the village on an elevated ridge that overlooks the only road leading into the settlement, which Russian forces use. This gives Ukraine observation and fire control capabilities that complement their drone and artillery strikes. Geo-coded combat footage from the area shows the devastating precision of Ukraine's 31st Mechanized Brigade, which tracked and destroyed Russian BTRs using just one shell per vehicle in front of Novosilka. In the fields near Novosilka, Russian troops tried to reduce their exposure in open terrain by deploying soldiers on motorcycles. This tactic was intended to outmaneuver Ukrainian kamikaze drone operators, who often strike soldiers or equipment when they are stationary or moving slowly. By relying on speed and smaller profiles, the Russians hoped to evade detection and attack. However, Ukrainian FPV drones swiftly eliminated them as soon as they stopped and dismounted. By closely tracking enemy movement and striking at the moment of greatest vulnerability, Ukrainian forces ensured one-hit eliminations. Russian troops attacking toward Vilne Pole were initially less exposed due to ridge cover, but as soon as they emerged, they were forced to keep driving within the village in search of cover. Before they could entrench, they too were eliminated. Ukrainian artillery, pre-adjusted to cover main approach routes, was promptly activated when drone operators spotted Russian forces entering Novosilka, Novosilka, and Vilne Pole. In summary, Russian forces launched a well-coordinated, multi-directional assault near Novosilka, hoping to exploit terrain advantages and numerical strength. However, they were met with precise and overwhelming Ukrainian fire, suffering heavy losses that halted their advance. Given the ongoing stalemate and the strength of Ukrainian defenses, Russia is likely to escalate its efforts in this sector as it aims to reach the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast border. This could lead to further intensification in the coming weeks. At the same time, the warriors of the Signum unit, part of the 53rd Mechanized Brigade, continue to deal heavy losses to the enemy. In the video of the combat work was released by the Kortitsia Operational Strategic Group. The brigade's drone operators, alongside adjacent units, destroyed 3 enemy armored personnel carriers that were advancing in a column toward our positions in the Liman sector. As a result of successful work, enemy losses amounted to 3 armored personnel carriers with their crews. The drones destroyed enemy vehicles and equipment worth around $3 million, the statement reads. Earlier from reported that the Nemesis regiment had crushed Russian artillery near Pokrovsk. We also wrote, Ukrainian forces had repelled major Russian assault 8 kilometers from the front line in the Zaporizhia region. While from the direction of Pokrovsk, in the Donetsk region, perched on high ground, the battle for Shevchenko is reaching a new intensity as Russian commanders have thrown hundreds of soldiers into the Ukrainian meat grinder. Ukrainians are turning this determination back against them, driving a spear into Russian advancements while securing a ring of fortresses around the town. While from the direction of Kursk, some 2,000 soldiers have been taken back to nuclear-armed North Korea this year, Lee said, and were now reportedly being held in isolation in Pyongyang and at other locations across the country. It is understood that the bodies of fallen soldiers were cremated locally in Kursk before being transported back to the north, he added. North Korea supported Russia's recapture of Kursk by deploying 18,000 troops in 2 phases, Lee said, adding that the number of clashes in the area had decreased since around March.